Okay, a lot of you say that you cannot see the presentation. As in, when you start seeing it, change your answer from no to yes, please. It usually does take a few seconds to reflect on the student's ends. You should be seeing the first slide of the presentation, which is just the title slide, Geometry Quant Live Session. Mark yes the moment you start seeing it. Okay, I can see the no's turning into yeses. So gradually everybody will be able to see it. That's good. Meanwhile, let me talk about what all you see on your screen right now. So there is this part of the screen where you see the presentation. Right below it, you will see the Q&A pod, the question and answer pod. This is where you will be asking any follow-up questions on the problems that we discussed together. So since I, as the host for you, will not be able to answer every single question in the session, we have our support today. Atreya is going to support us. He will answer all your questions in the Q&A pod. Now, on the right hand side of that, you will see another pod, a chat pod, where it says answer Shweta's question. So I am Shweta, your host for today. This is the place where you are going to talk to me. This is between you and I, and the Q&A pod is between you and Atreya. So any direct questions I ask you, you will answer here. And on the above that, where you see the yes no poll, you will also have a poll there, another poll there, which will be about the where you'll mark your answers for the day. Now, with those rules set, let's just start this. I'll introduce ourselves again once properly. So here the agenda, as you know, is to solve quadrilateral related geometry questions using a unified approach. It will not be random. You will not have to think every time in a new way altogether. You will be able to see how one approach will fit all questions if only you learn it properly. I am your host, Shweta Koshija, and Atreya Roy is our co-host for today. Now, the purpose of the session is to help you understand that the key to acing GMAT is two things. One, a sound understanding of basics, and two, a structured approach to solving questions. You should not be relying on shortcuts because they do not work every time, while a structured approach will always work. So you should have your strong basics and then the ability to apply them properly. Now, here is the progression of the session. So listen to the progression very carefully because the entire session is going to depend on this. Can everybody hear me? Please respond to that one more time if you can hear me properly. I just had a doubt, wanted to be sure that everyone can hear me nicely. Okay, so that's divided votes. Most people can hear me. Okay, all right, so I will continue with where I was going. So as I said, understanding the progression of the session is important. You should know what is going to come next. So first of all, we're going to have a warm-up section where we will have 500 to 600 level questions, easy questions to just warm ourselves up. We'll have 4 of these, and through these warm-up questions, we are going to revise or review all the concepts that we had done, which may be rusted now, or those that we're learning for the first time today. After that, we will have the first sprint in which you will be practicing, you will be applying all the concepts that you will have learned from the warm-up section on 650 to 700 level questions. After this sprint, you will again have another sprint, again 650 to 700 level questions, 3 of them. Finally, you will have two 700 plus level data sufficiency questions. So as you see, it is gradually increasing in terms of the level of difficulty, and you will be able to solve harder and harder questions as you enter another section of the session if only you learn to take what you learned from the previous section into the next one. So make sure of this. Write down wherever you find out that you were faltering. We will talk about faltering points. Make a note of these, and then when you move to the next question, apply them consciously. Be careful not to repeat those. Now, here I will be beginning with the warm up section. As I said, you will just have basic questions on this. This will give you a feedback on what your current conceptual understanding is. It's just corely conceptual. We will discuss the solutions, and through those solutions, you will be able to revise your concepts. So as I said, 5 questions in the next slides, 500 to 600 level. We will solve each question after you attempt it. So one by one. Now, here are a few rules about how you solve questions. So let me just first bring in the poll for solving questions. Here you see, mark your answer, it's called. And this one has 5 options, A, B, C, D, E, along with a sixth option, which is still solving. So still solving is just an option that tells me that you are ready to solve the question. You're ready for the next one. And the number of people who mark still solving, those will be my active participants for today. All of the others will be really watching the session but will not determine the pace of the session. Those who say still solving, those who are really ready, according to their speed, or the moment 80% of the people who are ready mark their answers, I will start discussing the solutions. So get your pens and papers ready. We are going to begin with the very first question here. And as I just said, mark still solving to tell me you're ready for this first question. 'That's lovely. Great participation. Here's question number 1. Good luck. Ten seconds before I end the poll. Please make sure you put in your answers before then. All right, so here we have our answers. Let me just broadcast the results so you can see how you people have voted as a group. And 1 second, there you go. So you see that the majority went with option E. 69% of you marked option E, which is the correct answer. So great, the majority is correct here. So we just have 31% of us who are still confused about this. So that's a big percentage. But what I see is 17% of those 31 did not mark their answer. You stayed in the still solving bracket. Well, make it a habit right from here, from the very first question, that you will not leave any question unanswered. If you were ready to solve the question, you have to mark your answer before time is up. Remember, on the GMAT, getting a question wrong is not as bad as leaving it or missing it towards the end. That's more heavily penalized. Now here, let's talk about this solution in detail so that all of us come on the same page. So let's discuss, what do we have? We have a rectangle whose two adjacent sides are consecutive integers between 1 and 4. Well, what are consecutive integers between 1 and 4? Integers between 1 and 4 that will not include 1 and 4. Whenever I say between, it is not going to include the numbers themselves. Remember that. Unless my question says it uses the word inclusive. Otherwise, if I say between, it's not going to include them. Now, which are the consecutive integers that I have between 1 and 4? There are just 2 and 3. So this is the rectangle that you have really, whose adjacent sides are 2 and 3. And if these two are 2 and 3, then automatically you get the other pair of sides as well, since opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So this is the first piece of information in the question. Next, they say the perimeter is P and the area is A. Which of the following is true? And the options are something about A and B. So when you see a lot of information, this is really not a lot of information. You will see more complex questions, but make it a habit right now to read a question in parts and keep analyzing it as you go. Do not let information overwhelm you. Till now, all I did was I read the first sentence, whose adjacent sides are consecutive integers between 1 and 4. And before moving on, I analyzed this much. Make that a habit and you'll never be scared of a question. So the very next thing we have here is the perimeter. So let's talk about that, going in parts, right? So what is perimeter really? Perimeter of a rectangle of length L and width W is given by this formula. It is 2 times L plus W. Why really? Because perimeter is the total boundary of your shape. It could be anything, right? This one here is a rectangle. So if I take the total length of the boundary, then what is it going to be? It's going to be this 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3. You're going to add all of them. And when you see this, you really have 2 plus 3 as a pair. You have two of those. So you can write it as this, 2 times 2 plus 3, which is exactly what I said the formula was. And then it's just simple calculation to give you perimeter equal to 10. Then let's read on, and the area is A. So next thing we want to talk about is the area of this rectangle. So now let's start talking about the area. So area of a rectangle whose length L and width W are given is just the product of those two. So for example here, my length and width, the two sides are 2 and 3. So if I just take the product, the area is 6. And then finally, the question was super simple. You just had to find the relationship between A and B. So if you got till this stage, then marking the option is nothing. You can clearly see that the area 6 is definitely less than perimeter 10. So this is what you had to do here. I'll just bring in the yes/no poll. Please mark yes if you understand clearly what I said in this one, the solution. All right, wonderful. So I love that 100% that we see here. Very nice. Now here, whatever you were missing in this question, whatever reason you were confused or you got this wrong, make sure you note that down. Whether it was a conceptual gap, you didn't know the formula for perimeter or area or consecutive or between, whatever it was, make a note of that. Every person should have his or her own error log today in the session. You will be able to realize, you will recognize yourself more, and you will know what exactly you have to work on. With this, then, I am going to go to warm up question number 2, and you know the drill. You'll just mark still solving to tell me you're ready. All right, then, here's warm up question 2. Good luck. 15 seconds before I end the poll. All right, here we have the results. So the majority, 72%, a better majority than last time, went with option E, and E is the correct answer. Good job. Now, this time, 28% of us did not get to the answer, but I'm very happy to see that the percentage who were left in still solving is now smaller. It's 9% from what we had, a 17% in the previous one. So I'm glad you people are taking the learning forward. You're not ready to let the question just go. So once everybody accepts that, adopts that, we will have a result, a response from every single person. Let's discuss this. Let's have everybody, all 28% who got this wrong, also ready here and comfortable with this. Even the 72 who got this correct, listen to the solution carefully to make sure you did it the right way. As I said, we will take things part by part in every geometry question. So what is it? Rectangles A and B have the same perimeter. Okay, I have an information, a piece of information that the perimeters are going to be identical, but really there's nothing I can do yet. There's nothing mathematical in which I can express this information. I have no information about the rectangles yet. So I will have to move on. Rectangle A is 10 meters long and has an area of 250. Okay, this looks like some concrete information about one of the rectangles. I know that my first sentence talked about perimeter and this one is talking about length and area, but at least this is giving me something about A while I had nothing in the first sentence. So let's explore this piece of information and take out all that we can about rectangle A. Look here, you know the area of a rectangle is the product of length and width. So here, if the length is 10 and the width is what you do not know, at least you know that the product is going to be 250 because that is the area. You solve this simple equation and you get width is 25. So this little analysis gave me a lot about rectangle A. It gave me the length and the width. And if I have both the length and the width, I can easily get the perimeter, which again, you know the formula of. It's 2 times length plus width. So you just apply the formula and the perimeter is 70. This is nice, beautiful. Then it said the width of rectangle B is 7. Find its area. Okay, you know what the area of a rectangle is? We just used it. Area is length times width. But I just had the width. So I need to get the length of B. And how am I going to do that? Well, I have this beautiful link here that the perimeter that A and B have is the same. So that's what I'm going to use here. Look carefully. So in B, I know the width, but I don't know the length. Let me just call that length L, whatever that is. And the perimeter, which is 2 times length plus width, is equal to 70. How do I know? Because this is 70 and perimeters are equal. You solve this equation and you get length as 28. The moment you get the length also, well then area of rectangle B is just length times width, 196, which was option E, and that is it. So here again, I'm going to bring in the yes no poll. You will just tell me if you're all comfortable with this now. Okay, great. I see 100% results. Not many people have said yes, but because that is natural since we didn't have many mistakes here. So good then. Let's move on to warm-up question 3. I will open the poll. You will mark still solving and then I'll show you the next one. Wonderful. So here's warm-up 3. Good luck. seconds before I end the poll. Here are the results. 72% of you marked C, which is correct. So this is the exact accuracy as we had in the previous question. And we have 12% votes for E, which is the next contender after C, and then very few votes for A, B, and D. All right, so I'm glad the majority is correct again. Let's discuss this nicely. So C is the answer, as I just told you. Let's see how. Okay, in the given figure, AE and BF are perpendicular to CD. Perpendicular means these are going to be 90-degree angles here. These are both going to be 90 degrees with respect to CD. And area of ABEF, which is the rectangle that you see in the middle, the area of that is 64. And I know the area of a rectangle is length times width. So I know that. AB is 8 and CD is 12. Okay, AB 8, CD, the whole of this is 12. Find the area of trapezoid ABCD. Okay, let's see. Now we will use, of course, the information that we have. As I said, we tackle these questions part by part. The first one was just a piece of information that they are perpendicular. Nothing for me to do here except, mark in the figure here that these are 90-degree angles. The first piece that I could really do something with is this, that the area of rectangle ABEF is 64. Now you know what the area of a rectangle is, length times width, as we just said. Now if AB is 8, that becomes the length. The width, let's just take AE. I could also have written BF, that does not matter at all. If I do that, I will be able to get that my AE is equal to 8 since area is 64. So that gives me this, which is the height of the trapezoid. Now, area of a trapezoid is this thing. So if you didn't know the formula, you would not, of course, be able to solve this question. Now here the area of a trapezoid is half times sum of the parallel sides times the height. What is a trapezoid really? It is a four-sided figure, a quadrilateral, in which one pair of opposite sides is parallel. So here AB and CD are parallel. So it's the sum of those two multiplied by the height, which is the perpendicular distance between those parallel sides. So if you just use that, it is half times 8 plus 12, 20 times 8, which is what we just got, right, using the area of the rectangle. So then it's just a simple application of the formula. 80 is your answer. Very nice. So whatever you were lacking here, make a note of that. I cannot stress enough on that fact that you have to learn from your mistakes, and only then will you see real growth in this session. By the end of the session, you will meet a new you. Well, I'm going to show you warm-up question number 4 now. You know the drill. Still solving is how we begin. Here you go. Good luck. Here we have the results for this one. So warm-up question number 4, the correct answer is indeed D. So the majority is correct yet again. This time it's a greater majority than ever before. 81% of you got this correct. So very, very nice here. 19% of us still struggled with this. Let's discuss this. The area of square ABCD is 81 square units, and the difference between this and that, and then it keeps going. What I want to do, as I said, work in parts. So area of a square is 81 means what? A square really is nothing but a special rectangle in which the length and the width are identical. So it's length times width, or I can say side times side, that is equal to 81. So that means the square that I'm talking about, it has a side of 9. Okay. Then the difference between the perimeters of square ABCD, which is the one I just talked about, and a smaller square PQRS is 12 units. So this is the difference between their perimeters. Okay, so I have two squares then. Let's just draw this out. Visualization. Visualize is a very, very important skill on GMAT geometry. It's a process skill. When you see things, you understand them much better. Now, I know there is no information in the question that says PQRS is inside ABCD. I've just made that because it just looks pretty. Nothing matters at all here. So ABCD, as I said, has side 9, which is what you see here. And this one inside, I don't know the side, it's S. But what is the information I really have? I know that the difference between their perimeters is 12. So that means what? Perimeter of the big one minus perimeter of the small one, right? That's what difference is. Now you know this difference is 12 and perimeter of the big one is 4 times 9, 36. What is the perimeter of the small one? I don't know. It's 4 times S because I don't know the side. This now is a simple equation to solve, and when you solve this, you get S equal to 6. So you do get the side of the smaller one now. Now, once you have the side, you just need to find the area. That's simple. It's just going to be area, which is side times side, 6 times 6, 36, and that is it. That is how we got the answer. Again, you know the drill. I'm going to ask you whether you're comfortable with this now by marking yes. Just tell me you are. Okay, wonderful. This is great. So if anybody is still confused, once you get the recording of this session and you watch this, you will be way more comfortable. So here's how we got the answers. This is the overall warm-up feedback. Ensure that you have 200% clarity in these concepts. You should not be confused about any concept here. Area of a rectangle, perimeter of a rectangle, area of a trapezoid, and all of those things that you saw here, you should be absolutely comfortable about them. If you scored less than 100%, that means if you got even one question wrong here, make sure you revise the relevant concepts from the course. Remember the files we had sent your way? This is where they come back again. Now, why do you need to be so comfortable with them? Because GMAT questions actually will require a much more advanced level application of these. This is not where it's going to stay. Now, before we move on, I want to understand how you people are feeling right now after the warm-up section. So this is the time we talk. Come to the chat pod where you answer Shweta's question. Tell me what is the overall feedback here. What is it that you've learned in the warm-up section, things that you were missing, or your biggest takeaways till now? Okay, it was a recap. It was refreshing, going great so far. It was a good warm up. Got a revision of basic concepts. Feeling good. Wonderful. I enjoyed. Recap. Good. Everybody feels nice and ready to do the rough work neatly. And that's a good takeaway. Yes, because you can copy your own numbers wrong. Amazing. Okay, what level GMAT questions are these? Well, 500 to 600 level as I told you in the beginning. These are just basic questions. The takeaway is to review and focus. Yes, absolutely, to be focused throughout. A bit comfortable now. Great. So already the level of comfort has gone up. We are all feeling more comfortable. The results for these are I'm already broadcasting them, so you can read everybody's general feeling here. So I'm good that all of us are more positive now already. With this, then, the next leg of our journey today is sprint one, which is where you will be applying the concepts that you've learned till now on slightly harder questions. This is 650 to 700 level questions. So I'm going to show the very first one. Get ready. Make sure you use all of those points that you wrote in your error log, all those things that you found out about yourself that I do this wrong. Don't do them here. All right, so here I am opening the poll. Mark still solving to tell me you're ready for this first practice session. Perfect. Here's sprint one, question one. Good luck. Before I end the poll. All right, here are the results. You can see, let me just broadcast them. You can see that 79% of you went with option B, which is the correct answer. So till now, the majority has always been correct, and I'm happy to see that the majority has never been below 70% yet. The lowest we went were at 72%. Yeah, and it's only going better from there. So great, let's just discuss this in detail. And the remaining 21%, focus. Square ABCD of side 15 units and trapezoid PQRS have the same area. Okay, so this is the first piece of information already, that there is a square and a trapezoid which have the same area. Now I do have the dimensions of the square, so I can find the area, right? So I will not read my question further. I'll just go on with this and just work with this much. Now, just to understand how the trapezoid is formed, this very next piece, that PQ is the one parallel to RS, helps. So this is what I have here. This is how the trapezoid looks. This is how the square looks. Now the area of the square is 15 times 15, 225. So I already know from the first sentence that the area of the trapezoid is also 225. And now I also know the formula for the area of a trapezoid. It's half times sum of the parallel sides multiplied by the height. Now, which are the parallel sides? I see that here PQ and RS are the parallel sides, and their lengths are also given. Wow, PQ is 20, RS is 25. You have to find the height. It's a very simple problem. If you know the area of a trapezoid, there's really nothing. So just apply the formula here. What is it? Area of trapezoid. This is the formula. So it's half times 45 times the height PE, which is what you have to find. Now, since you know the area, because the area of the square and the trapezoid are equal, you can just put 225 here on the left hand side. And then it's a very simple equation to solve. You will get PE, which is the height, to be 10, which is option B. And that is it. We're through. So here's your yes no poll again. Tell me if you're comfortable with this now. Let me just clear old answers and reopen. Yep. Wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful results again. 100%, 99% of you are comfortable with this. With this now, we're going to go to the next question. If you just saw this question before moving on, I'll just try to, show the connection already, how you've come from warm up to this. In the warm up, you learned how to find the area of a rectangle. Then you learned later how a rectangle and a square work exactly the same, just instead of length and width, you have side and side. You had also learned the area of a trapezoid in separate questions. In this one, all of that came together. You had to use a square and a trapezoid, both of their areas, and then you had to equate them. Also, in the previous questions in the warm up, you had learned how to find the area. You were given the height, you were given the parallel sides. This time, you were given the area and you had to find one of the missing elements, the height. So it's the same concepts, but we're just using them differently now. The same foundation will work, and your questions will keep getting slightly more tricky every time, which is why learning the concepts is so important, because everything is based on them. If you're strong there and you learn from old mistakes, don't repeat them, you're never going to have a problem. All right, still solving, and then I'm going to show you question 2. Number 2. Good luck. 15 seconds before I end the poll. All right, then, here are the results. 70% of you went with option B, which is the correct answer. So, yet again, majority is correct. Very few votes for A, B, C, D, E. That means those of you who marked the answers, most of you got this correct. It's the low accuracy, not really low, but still it could have been higher. It's because of the 20% of you who stayed within still solving. You never marked your answer. Remember, don't let questions go. Just make a best guess if you're towards the end of the exam. Think about it as the last question on your GMAT. What would you do? Not mark it? You would mark it, right? Make an educated guess there. Think what the best possibility could be and just go for it. At best, what's going to happen? You're going to get it wrong, right? That's the worst case scenario. But that's okay. Let's discuss this. In the given figure, AE and BF are perpendicular to CD. Okay, I can see that here. These are 90-degree angles, both of these here. Area of trapezoid ABCD is 32. Okay, so that's the area of the entire trapezoid. AB is 6, this is 6, FC is 2, this little piece is 2. Midpoint of EF, okay, midpoint of EF is equal to the midpoint of CD. Find the area of ABFE. That's a lot of information. Again, do not get overwhelmed. Use it slowly, piece by piece. There was really nothing to use till this stage that these are perpendicular to CD. That's just given, okay? These are 90-degree angles. But the next piece where you had trapezoid ABCD, the area of that is 32, you could start there. Area of trapezoid is what? Sum of parallel sides multiplied by the height, and of course half of that. And one more thing here is about the midpoint of EF and the midpoint of CD. Why do I need all of that? Because till now I do not have CD as a whole. Let's just see this. Look, this is the situation, right? Midpoint of EF, let's just call that M. It is exactly also the midpoint of CD. So it's this point M which will divide both of them into two parts. Now you have to find the area of the rectangle. Just remember that. Now this M I just marked in the figure because that was also another information in the figure. Now here again, what information I'm using first is this only, what was presented to me first in the question about the area of trapezoid ABCD. So half of AB plus CD times AE is 32. So then this way I put in AB, which I know is 6. I don't know CD, so I'll let that be. I don't know AE either, so I'll let that be. And I'll put the area as 32. So this is where I've got from this first piece of information. Okay, that doesn't seem to help me too much. I don't know CD, I don't know AE, so I can't proceed yet from this. But this is a piece of information that I might need later. I will need later. Then AB 6 and FC is 2. And the midpoint thing, this piece I haven't yet used, right? That this is the midpoint of that. I haven't used this yet to get anything at all. Look closely. ABFE, you know, is a rectangle. They've told us that. So if AB is 6, then EF is also 6. Opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. And then since M is the midpoint of EF, both of these pieces here, EM and MF, these are both 3, 3 each. And with that, you will be able to say that MC as a whole is 5 because it's 3 plus 2. And then CD will be the double of 5 since M is also the midpoint of CD, and then you'll get CD is 10. See how you went one step ahead of where you were. In this relationship that you got on top by using just the area of the trapezoid, you had CD and AE both missing. But now you know CD. So if you put that here in the first relationship, you will be able to get AE here, this. And then you're through. Why? You just wanted the area of rectangle ABFE, right? Which is going to be AB times AE. You already knew the 6. This is the only thing you were lacking. So in the beginning only, if you get very clear with this part at least, what is to find, then you will know exactly when you are done in the solution. So till now, I've been saying go from one step to next, one step to the next. I still stand by that, but you should know what is it that you're going for, what is it that you ultimately want to find. That should also be taken care of right in the beginning. Of course, you won't be able to calculate it, but you should know what you want. That way your work will always be structured and you'll know exactly where to stop. You would not just keep randomly working on the question continuously. So if AE here is 4, then as I said, area just wanted AE, so it's going to be 24, and that is option B, as most of you got. I will bring in the yes no poll. Tell me you understood this by marking a yes. Okay, 100% results yet again. Okay, wonderful. That's great. Anybody confused at all? Make sure you use the recording really well. When you see all those concept files and the process files that sent your way before the session, and you see the recording for this one, together you will see how your concepts get very, very solid. We will now all go into question number 3 once I have enough people saying they're ready. Here's print 1, question 3. Good luck. 10 seconds. Then here you see the results. This time it's very different from what we had in all of the previous questions. We always had a clear majority. Well, this time also we have a majority with C, but it's very, very close with option E. 47% with C and 34% with E. So two very close contenders. We've never had that before in any of the questions. Well, the correct answer here is E. So that's another big surprise that the majority this time, for the first time, is wrong. So all of you need to listen very carefully to this one. Let's see what went wrong and why so many of you went for for C. Rectangle PQRS is placed inside square ABCD such that PQ is parallel to AB. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. I am not doing anything about how much, what the distance between these vertices would be right now. Just consider this to be placed inside. As I read further, I will show you what the other markings here mean. Vertices P and S are 1 unit away from each of the two nearest sides of square ABCD. So this question is translation heavy. You need to translate a lot of this heavy stuff into math, which is where most of you must have struggled. Listen very carefully though. Vertices P and S. So let me just talk about P first. Look here at P. It is 1 unit away from each of the two nearest sides of square ABCD. So if I look at vertex P, which are the two nearest sides from square ABCD? It's AB and AD. So it is 1 inch away from each of those. That means this little gap here above this small rectangle PQRS and this one here on the left of PQRS till you reach the score to the square, both of these are 1 unit each. Same story for S. So again, the nearest sides are AD and CD. This much is also 1, the distance between S and AD, and the distance between S and CD. That's also 1. Next, they're saying find the area of PQRS if the side of ABCD is 50. Well, if you want to find out the area of PQRS, which is a rectangle, you obviously need the length and the width both, right? Let's see if we can get both of those things. So first thing that I sorry about that noise. So here, this is 1 each, as I said. Let's see which ones here can we get. Can we get the length? Can we get the width of PQRS or not? Okay, look closely. Area of PQRS, length times width. Now, width here of this rectangle is QR, right? This is the width. Can I get the length of QR from the 15 that I have? I can. See how. You already know, or let me talk about here from PS. You know it's one above it and it's one below it, this much. So together, if I look at PS, it's really AD, which is 15, minus 1 on top and 1 here. That means it's 15 minus 1 and another 1. Total, it's going to be 13. So whether you look at PS or you look at QR, it's going to be the same because QR and PS are equal. But it's easier to see PS because in the question we talked about vertices P and S. So I did get the width of this rectangle. Now this one, because it's a little tricky, I'll ask you my yes/no questions midway. So tell me if you understood what we did till here, how we got this width 13. Okay, so 86% of you, 83%, 80% approximately, 80% is comfortable with this. The remaining 20% you're still confused, which is not a very small percentage. So I'll just quickly go over this. AD is 15, PS is what you want. This is 1 and this gap is also 1. Look at the markings look at where I'm putting my pointer. The distance between P and AB is 1, distance between S and CD is 1. That's how I get PS as 13. Now then, I also want the length of this, which is SR. Let's see if I can do that. Now, this time, if I work on SR, I know this much here is 1, which is the distance between S and AD. This is 1 for sure. But do you have any idea about the distance between vertex R and BC? Do you know how far these two are? 1 unit or 10 units or 20 units or what? Of course, not 20 because 15 is the total, but it could be anything on the way. Unless you know exactly what this distance is, what will you subtract from 15? You will not know exactly what L is. And since you can't get the length, you can't get the area of this rectangle, and the answer is E, cannot be determined. Again, a yes no poll one more time. Tell me if you finally got this. Wonderful. 99%, 97% votes saying yes. This is great. This was translation heavy. So in this question, two things were very, very important, that you draw the figure. If you don't draw all of this, you will not be able to see what's happening. And without being able to see what's happening, it's really difficult to work on this question. Visualize again is the process skill that we relied on here, heavily relied on this skill. Geometry will have this one process skill very, very heavily used. You will see that in a lot of places. And the moment you visualize things properly, you put them in the right place, you draw the right figures, you will see it's easier to work with them. Without drawing, how in the world would you have understood this one and this one unit and that I don't know anything on the right side? It's impossible. Okay, so this is very important. Now I'm opening the chat box where you talk to me. Tell me, how are you feeling about sprint one? What are your biggest takeaways from sprint one till now? Read the questions carefully, yes. Never assume. That's a beautiful point. Never, never assume. Assumption is killer on GMAT. Should write the number in rough work correctly. Yes, copying it. Copying the wrong numbers is very, very sad when you get questions wrong for that. Good so far made a silly error. Yeah, no error is silly, by the way. Every error, there's something specific in the kind of silly error you made, whether it's a calculation error or copying the wrong data. Recognize what errors you make. Visualization is the biggest takeaway. Do not make assumptions. True. Never need to give the question a figure. Absolutely. Nice questions, got them all correct, but had to think critically. That was the goal here. Drawing figure is the key, yes. Do not get intimidated by answer choice. So glad you said this. Never get intimidated by anything. Trust your concepts and just apply them carefully. Paying attention to the question, analyze carefully, step by step analysis, yes. No shortcuts. Go with all the options. Go with all the options? We didn't use the options till we got the answer. Nice move from easier to harder questions, yes. You'll see it getting harder slowly. Realizing silly mistakes. Wonderful. Is it always true that any object placed inside will not be of the same length? Like AB is not equal to PQ. No, I mean, if it's inside, then right now it clearly is not the same. But if it was not a rectangle, it could happen. I mean, P and Q could be touching AB, and maybe you had a trapezoid inside. Understand step by step. patience, calmness. I'm so glad for all of these takeaways here. So, all of you really understand how visualization is the key, reading questions carefully is the key, doing step by step solutions is the key. So, you have a lot of those points that you have to be careful about. It's not one thing that makes you good at geometry, it's this combination. Learn from all of these points everybody is putting across. All of these points really, really matter. Now, here is a little something I'd like to talk to you about. All of you are on a different journey today. Some people got all of these questions correct. Some of you are stuck. Some of you are getting them wrong. Everybody has a different starting point and therefore should have a different path towards success. So you should have your own personalized study plan. That is how you'll be able to improve in the best way. There's no one plan fits all that works here. So I would suggest all of you to try this. You will have this link that you'll be able to see on your screen. When you click on that, you will reach here. What you have to do is you have to choose the tile which matches your personal, your own problem area, not what the group is doing. Some people are those who are just stuck at a 640. Some people would be struggling only with timing issues. Some are stuck at a 700 and want to get that 750. Anything could be happening to you. Select the tile that represents your problem area. After that, click on this where it says help me reach my target score. And then all you have to do is choose a convenient slot, choose a time slot from here, which is when we will be able to talk to you at that time. Now, before anything, fill all of these bits of information. So this will help us know you before we talk to you. So that way we'll be able to plan things better. Okay, so if you're an e-GMAT student, you should already have your own personalized study plan. If not, make it now. Understand your personalized study plan. You need to know what exactly are the steps. It's not just about having a plan. You should understand your plan. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to implement it. Understand our the architecture on which all of our learning is based, the three stages of learning. You'll be given all of those relevant videos to learn all of those. Make sure you attend onboarding sessions. They happen twice per week, which is for new students. We help you understand the platform, how you can make best use of it. Understand and attend test readiness sessions. It's one thing to prepare, it's another thing to be ready for a test. People make mistakes when they reach test day, although they were prepared earlier. So you have to be test ready. We have all guidance videos for all three stages of learning and many more guidance videos. Use them, and then you will see yourself on the path to success. With this, then, with all of this energy, all of this positive attitude, these learnings that all of you have, you're going to go into sprint two. I'm going to show you question number one the moment I have enough people say their Okay, here's question one. Good luck. In seconds before I end the poll. Right. So the majority, 54% of you went with option D, which is correct. So yes, the majority is correct again, but it's a much smaller majority. So that is natural since you feel questions getting tougher. We're still in the 650 to 700 bracket, though we are going to go into 700 plus level in sprint 3. But yes, complexity is gradually increasing. This one was a little more complex because of the use of percentages in this. So let's understand this. Maybe most of you who did not get this correct, it was because of that percent aspect only. So if the length of a rectangle is increased by 80% and its width is decreased by 50%, it becomes a square of area 324. Let's just put this in a picture. Here's the rectangle. I don't know the length. I don't know the width. I'm just calling them X and Y respectively. And what I get after I manipulate this rectangle, its length and its width, is this square whose area is 324. Now, area of a square is side times side. So that way I can get the side of this square as 18. So I know this is what I get when I manipulate the rectangle. Now, what kind of manipulation am I doing? Look carefully. So x, which is the length, is being increased by 80%, and that's how I reach 18. Similarly, the width, which is y, is being decreased by 50%, and that's how I reach 18 again. Old width becomes new width. Old length becomes new width, new length after the changes that I make. So let me work on the length part first. So x when increased by 80%. What does it mean to increase something by 80%? It means I add 80% of it to the original value. Remember, it's not just x plus 80 over 100 because that would mean it's x plus 0.8. It's not a fixed thing. It's not 0.8, a fixed number that you're adding. Increasing by 80% means it's 80% of the original value that you're going to increase. So it's 80% of x. That is what you're going to add. And of stands for multiplication. So 80% of x means 0.8x. When you solve this now, you get the value of x as 10. So that was your old length. That means the length of the rectangle. Same story now, you work with the width. This time you're decreasing it by 50%. Yet again, 50% in itself is nothing. You're not just subtracting 50 over 100 or not just subtracting 0.5. It's 50% of the original value, 50% of y. So when you subtract that, you get 18. You solve it and it's y equal to 36. Then it's super simple. You just want to find the perimeter of the rectangle, which is 2 times length plus width. You solve it and you get 92, which is option D. So here, tell me what exactly was the confusion. Tell me in the chat pod, was it really the use of percentages which confused you? Free to write it in the drawing the diagram. Yeah, see, I told you visualizing is very important on geometry. Use the learnings that you get from previous questions if you want to see improvement. Misreading. You saw that was a point also again in the previous takeaway listing that you need to be careful. Somehow didn't pick up that the new one is a square. Well, it's given that it's a square. It wasn't something you had to infer. Calculation error and ran out of time. Somehow, okay. misread decreased as increased. So that is again, that means we're not careful when we're reading the question. Not the percentage, did 4s for area. Oh my god, that's the perimeter. See, that is again a concept that we had built. Okay, that leads to confusion. Little confusing. We always think length is longer. That's absolutely wrong. That's an assumption people make. Length and width, there's no order in which one is longer, which one is shorter. No, there's nothing there at all. Forget about that forever. The word square you misunderstood the question. Okay, so I see a lot of you doing this wrong when this should not have been wrong. I'm glad you can at least pinpoint that it's not a conceptual gap in your understanding. It's just that when it was time to apply that concept, you could not apply it properly. So be careful next time onwards. Use the tools in your arsenal. Otherwise, what's the point of learning? Use what you learn. Use the ABC that you learn to write cat and bat and mat. Grow gradually. With this, Mark's still solving, and I'll show you question number 2. before I end the poll? Okay, so here are the votes. The majority, smaller this time again, 51% went with C, which is the correct answer. So thank God the majority is back in flow. But we have a lot of votes for option E as well. 21% if you think it's E. So really it's between C and E here. Let's discuss this. Area of square ABCD is equal to area of PQRS. Okay, so I have one square, I have one rectangle. Here they are. I will not fill in the sides unless I read further. Right now, I just have a figure. If the length of PQRS is 69% more than its width, so suppose the width of PQRS is x, then how much is the length? 69% more than x. This will give you 1.69x as the length of PQRS. So 1.69x. Then what do we have? Find the ratio of the perimeters of square ABCD and PQRS. You want to find the perimeter of ABCD divided by the perimeter of PQRS, that ratio. Now you have no information yet about square ABCD, about what the dimensions are, but you know the areas are equal, right? We haven't used this little piece of information yet. So let me write down areas of both of these. Area of the square is going to be y times y squared, and area of this rectangle, length into width, is going to be 1.69x squared. When I equate these two and then I take the square root on both sides, I'm going to get y as 1.3x. So see how both of these figures then will have dimensions in terms of x only. You will not have y's separate and x's separate. So this is going to be 1.3x and 1.3x again. So then remember what I wanted to find out, the ratio of the perimeters. What's the perimeter of the square going to be? It's just 4 times 1.3x, or I've just written it as 2 times 2.6x. I'll tell you why. And the perimeter here of the rectangle is 2 times L plus W. That'll give me this. Now, just because I anyway wanted to find the ratio, I just kept this 2 as the common term, the factor which I could cancel out then. Once you cancel this out and you cancel out your x's, you're going to have 2.6 over 2.69. Now 2.6 is really the same as 2.60. Therefore, when you remove the decimals from both of them, you get 260 over 269, which is option C. That is our answer. So really, after having done percentages in the previous question, this one definitely, I'm sure, was not wrong because of the same thing, because of percentages. It was basically probably because you could not draw the connection. Tell me in the chat pod what happened, but first mark yes to tell me you've understood it now. 49% of you got this wrong. Tell me in the chat box, where did you falter? Which step did you do wrong? Could not find the square root of 169. Yes, so it is suggested that you remember the squares of all integers from 1 through 20. If you do that, then you will remember that 13 squared is 169, and then you will be able to connect that with 1.69. Okay, a lot of you said that the 1.69 part, doing the square root. It's okay. Once you remember the squares from 1 through 20, it's going to be equal. Consistently making mistakes under time pressure. Well, that'll just means you're not very comfortable with these concepts yet. And even if you know concepts, you haven't applied them a lot in the past. So it is natural to get stuck when you're applying things the first time. It's okay, but it's going to happen. Took perimeter of the square as 2a. Oh, that's a big mistake. That's something coming right from the concepts that we did. Mistake in simplification, substituted the values wrongly. So a lot of you have made mistakes that you should not have made. It's not really conceptual. In a hurry, got the wrong answer, got the correct answer, but didn't check the options. These are all mistakes that shouldn't have happened. Calculations and all of these things. Be very careful. So many of you are saying it was a silly mistake, and many others said the square root thing. So if you just learn those squares, it's not going to happen again. You will be more comfortable next time. All right, so we're going to go to sprint 2, question number 3. The moment I have enough people say there. Right, good luck. The poll in 10 seconds. Okay, here are the results. 61%, a better majority than previous questions, went with option D, which is the correct answer. We had 10% votes for E, 7% for B, and A and C, very few votes. So really, D took the game pretty clearly with a good majority, but still 39% of us were scattered between A, B, C, D, and those who did not mark the answers. So listen very carefully. A border of uniform width n is placed around a square photograph. Let's see this. So here's your square photograph inside this orange thing with a side of S, since it's a square, so this is S and this is S. And the border has a uniform width of N. What that means is it's N this way, N here, N here, and N here. Throughout, the border is equally wide. The photograph has a side of S, which is what we assumed. Find the area of the border. So area of the border is only this blue region, which is just the border. You don't want to include the photograph in it. Now, how are you going to have the area of the border? Now, see, if I did not visualize this properly, it would be very hard to exactly understand what the question wants. Now that we've visualized it, we know it's the blue region. And then how can we find the area of this? It's really area of this big square. How do I know it's a square? Well, because it's uniform width, right? So if this one was S and I know it's N above, N below, then AD is equal to S plus 2N. Similarly, if this side is also S and I know I have N on the left, N on the right, that means AB is also S plus 2N. So that's also a square. So getting the area of the border really is area of the big square minus area of the small square. So area of the big square is going to be S plus 2N whole squared, and area of the small square is just S squared. Now, how do you simplify this? Some people might have used the algebraic identity a plus b whole squared to open this up and then subtract it. It's not wrong, but a quicker method here would be to use the identity a squared minus b squared, which is a plus b times a minus b. So here in my case, a is s plus 2n and b is s. So this is a minus b, this is a plus b. You simplify this and this is what you have. Now directly when you look, you will not find this in any of the options. Look here, we don't have this anywhere. That means there is something more that you need to do to this final step that you're at to match it with one of the options. You will need to do this sometimes. Don't just keep simplifying endlessly when you're towards the end of a solution. See how the options want the answer to be. Now here you can take 2 common from 2s plus 2n. That 2 when it will come out, it will become 4 times n, and then in the bracket it will just be s plus n. So D is the final answer. And that's it. Now again, tell me in the yes no poll if you understood this one clearly. Okay, so we have about 70%, 75% of you saying that you understood this, and 25% are not very comfortable. So I'm opening the chat box here. Tell me where you faltered. What is the step here in this question that you got confused? Took s plus n instead of s plus 2n. See, because you did not draw. I am constantly telling you how important visualization is. If you don't take the learnings from this, then you're going to be stuck for many, many more questions. You don't want to do that, right? How is the side of the big square s plus 2n? Well, I explained that if this is s and then you have n on the right, n on the left, then overall this much is going to be s plus n plus n, s plus 2n. The difficulty is 650 to 700 level. This is class 10 level question, pretty easy. You must be good at school and I'm glad you still remember this. Okay, many people did this s plus n thing. Took side of the bigger square as s. That's a big mistake. We're given the smaller one to be s. Included the border into the photograph. How can that happen? Think about it. The border is what you have on the outside, right? Okay. Can do such easy questions come? This is not really easy. If you see the accuracy in the question, 61% people only got this correct. It's not easy. It's a medium level question. You found this easy because you're good with this concept. That's great. Calculation mistake. Pretty easy. Okay. All right. Great. So we have this one question from Payal. I didn't understand if width is the side of the photograph. No, it says a border of uniform width. A border of width. So it's the width of the border. It's how wide the border is. Okay, with this now we're done with the second sprint. And after this we're going to go into sprint 3, which is going to be two hard questions, 700 plus level. Summarize all of your takeaways till here. The warm up, sprint 1, sprint 2, all the takeaways that you are going to take into this third sprint. Make sure you don't miss points now. Come on. Ready for sprint 3? Good. Biggest takeaways, things that you did not know before this session, and now that you know and you're excited to apply them on sprint 3. The importance of going step by step. Wonderful. Need to be thorough with my concepts to avoid silly errors. Absolutely. That's why we said, be 200% confident with your concepts. Gradual absorption and cementing is the key. Yes, learn the concepts and then cement them on questions. Keep practicing. Visualize, visualize. Good. So many people have written that. Okay, importance. All right. Do we have anything else? Are these previous year questions? No, these are all e-GMAT questions. All our questions are based on the official sources. I mean, on official GMAT pattern. Okay, wonderful. So everybody seems excited about sprint 3. This is going to be hard again, 700 plus level, but trust the concepts that you've learned till now. I'm not going to throw something completely alien at you. It's going to be the same concepts, just that the application gets a little more tricky. So tell me you're all ready for the first question. Good luck, everyone. Here's the first data sufficiency question you're seeing. Ending the poll in 15 seconds. Okay, just look at the results this time. Very, very scattered. The majority went with B, but it's a very small majority. 32% of you went with option B. And then we had 23% for C, 10% for D and E each, 8% for A. So really, majorly the top two options, the top two choices were B and C, but still the vote is very, very scattered. So that just shows we're not clear with this. So I'll keep this result broadcast so you can keep seeing as I discuss this one by one. So what is happening here is, let's read this. So first of all, it talks about the border of uniform width and this and that, which is what you just saw in a question. So again, as I said, it's going to be the same things, the same concepts, the same kinds of application, but a little more tricky because it's data sufficiency, of course. So a border of uniform width X is placed around rectangle A to create a bigger rectangle B. So here's what it looks like. This is a rectangle inside rectangle A with length as L and width W. You're putting a border of uniform width WX, which is X wide on all sides of it. So this is also X, this is also X on the left, on the right, up and down. It's X throughout. And that way you get a bigger rectangle PQRS, which we're just calling rectangle B. Now, what are the dimensions of rectangle B? This is exactly what we did in the previous question. So let's just say if this is L and you have X on the right, X on the left, then in total PQ is going to be L plus 2X. Similarly, the width is going to be W plus X above it, X below it, W plus 2X is going to be PS. So this is what the dimensions of the bigger rectangle are. I don't know the numbers again, remember. I don't know L, I don't know W, I don't know X. But in terms of those, the three variables that I know till now, the three unknowns, I don't know L, W, X, I've used just those to write down the dimensions of the bigger rectangle as well. Then it says the difference between the perimeters of A and B is 32. What's the area of B? We've seen this bit, perimeter, difference between the perimeter earlier. What it was that the big perimeter minus the small perimeter, that is going to be 32. Now, which one is the big perimeter? Of course, of PQRS, and the smaller one is this one inside rectangle A. When I write down the difference is 32. Perimeter of the big one is 2 times length plus width, and perimeter of the small one is also 2 times length plus width. So you put the respective lengths and widths. When you simplify this, you get 8x as 32 and you get the value of x as 4. So reaching to this stage, you already know all about the border. You know how wide the border is, although you don't know the rectangle inside and outside. So tell me till here, are we all on the same page? Did everybody understand x equal to 4? Let me rephrase my question. Tell me how many of you had reached this stage. So mark yes if you got till here. So as you all see in the results, around 88% of you got till here, but 12% could not. So we have already discussed where 12% of you faltered. You could not go beyond this. That means even the question stem analysis was not complete for you. In a data sufficiency question, once you get everything from the question stem, then you go to your statements. Now, here, not being able to do this much means we were already stuck at a previous step in the beginning. Now, with this, let's see what statement 1 is. So, statement 1 said, or before that, let me just tell you one more thing. Remember, we have to keep an eye on what we want to find out ultimately. We want the area of the big rectangle. Just remember that. Area of the big rectangle, L plus 2x times W plus 2x. Now that I know the value of x is 4, 2x is 8, so it's going to be L plus 8 times W plus 8. Now either you see it in this factored form or you see it this way, multiplied inside. This is what I want. Clearly, you see I need L and W for this one. Now, statement 1 told me area of the border is 72. We've seen something similar. Area of the border means area of the big rectangle minus area of the small rectangle. Now, how much is the area of the big rectangle? L plus 8 times W plus 8, which is in fact what I want to find out ultimately, minus area of the small one, which is LW. When you simplify this, this is what you're going to get. Now look, you want this, but you have this. If you look closely, this bit is the last three terms of what you want. You still don't know the product LW, because unless you know L and W, you can't get the value of the product. So we still don't know one important piece. So this statement alone cannot give me what I want. So the 8% who marked A and 10% who marked D, all of you thought that the first statement was sufficient. So my next question is only to you guys, the 18% who marked A or D. Did you people understand this? Mark yes. And also tell me in the chat box where exactly you faltered. Only the people who marked A and D, please. Did not simplify. Okay, you did not take it till the end. That's why you couldn't see where it's going. Didn't see the options. The options in a data sufficiency question are fixed. You just have to see which statements are sufficient, alone or together. You need to have them on your tips. Silly mistake, missed the LW in a hurry. Wrong logic used. Wasn't aware of DS options. Okay. All of you, make sure you remember, you learn, you have these DS options by heart. For now, maybe just quickly see it online so that you can make use of it in the next question. Just search data sufficiency options. Okay, good. Let's now move to sprint 3. I'm sorry, we'll move to statement 2. We've already understood, all of us who made a mistake in thinking that the first statement was sufficient. Now let's go and look at statement number 2. B, which is the bigger rectangle, can also be obtained if each of the longer sides of A is increased by 80% and the shorter sides is increased by 100%. So we're increasing both of them. Now this time I don't know which one is the longer side and which one is the shorter side. So I'll just assume that L is the longer side and this W is the shorter side. Remember, somebody asked that I thought length was always the longer one. It's not true. Here also I've just randomly taken it. You could have taken W to be the longer side. Now, if I take L to be the longer side, then we know that we're increasing the longer sides by 80%. So L plus 80% of L is going to give me 1.8 L. Similarly, I'm increasing the shorter sides by 100%. So W plus 100% of W is going to give me 2W. Now again, read the question. B can also be obtained if you do this. That means even when you're doing this, you're still getting the same big rectangle B. That means you're still getting the same dimensions that you had for rectangle B. That means this 1.8 L, sorry, 1.8 L, 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 1.8 This 1.8L is equal to L plus 8. When you solve this, you get the value of L as 10. Similarly, this 2W is equal to W plus 8, which gives you the value of W. Now that you have both L and W, you can clearly find out what you wanted here, the area of the big one. So statement B, statement 2 alone is sufficient. That's why the answer is option B. So 31% of you, as I said, got this correct. All of those who marked C or E thought that the second statement was insufficient. So now this is a question for everybody who thought that the second statement was insufficient. Did you understand this? Mark yes if you did. Also, tell me in the chat pod where exactly did you falter in this analysis? B can also be obtained means could be changed as dimensions of B can also be obtained. No, the entire rectangle is being obtained automatically means that the dimensions will also be obtained. If you're getting the same rectangle means you're getting the same dimensions. Didn't finish on time, didn't calculate the value of X. Okay, so you were stuck there in the question stem only. The options for data sufficiency are based on option A is statement 1 sufficient alone, B is 2 sufficient alone, C is these statements are sufficient together, D is each statement sufficient alone, and E is they're not even sufficient together. It's a lot to understand when I say that at once. That's why I said please open the options online. You are going to be given that in the test. Time, options, time. Yes, it is 700 plus level. If you found this easy, give yourself a pat on the back. Seemed complex, got overwhelmed. Yeah, don't get overwhelmed. Relax. Think about all the concepts that you've learned. Trust yourself. Trust is a big thing. You have to trust on what you know and then just confidently apply that in whatever question someone might throw at you. We are now going to go into the second hard question of the day, sprint 3, question 2. Just mark still solving to tell me you're ready. There you go. Good luck. Make sure you have the options open online before you attempt this one. That should not be the reason you get this wrong again. Put the options here for your reference. The poll in 20 seconds. All right, here are the results. We again have a very, very close match between C and E. It's almost a tie this time. So we have 38% for C and 37% for E. So I will not tell which one is correct, but I'm very glad to see that very few of you thought that statement one alone was sufficient. Nobody thought that two alone was sufficient, and very, very few people thought that each statement alone is sufficient. So really, it was about the final stage when you combined the two statements. So according to the session here, the group here, I am going to put maximum effort in explaining when the statements get combined. But again, we'll discuss every single bit. So we have trapezoid ABCD of area 39 square inches placed inside rectangle PQRS, as you can see in the figure here, such that AB is parallel to PQ. So AB parallel to PQ, obviously then CD is also going to be parallel to PQ. Vertices A and B of the trapezoid are 1 inch away from each of the two nearest sides of the rectangle. You have seen this before. It means this here, the distance between A and RS is 1, and the distance between A and PS is also 1. Similarly, B and RS, B and RQ, both of these are 1. I don't know anything about the distances between CD and PQ or the other side. So let's read on for that. Vertices C and D of the trapezoid are 1 inch away from the nearest side. So there's a difference here. In the previous one, it said from each of the two nearest sides. This time it says just the nearest side. So which is the side nearest to vertex D? It's PQ. Similarly, the side nearest to vertex C is also PQ. So this distance is 1. You take it here, distance between D and PQ or C and PQ, it's going to be 1. Question then is asking for the area of rectangle PQRS. Now, area of rectangle PQRS means you need PS times RS. So the length times the width. But of course, you're going to use what you have for that. What you have is the area of trapezoid ABCD. Now you know the formula for area of a trapezoid, it is half times sum of parallel sides times the height. So when you put all of that in place, the two parallel sides are AB and CD, while the height is this one that I've drawn here in yellow. Now 39 is the area, so I put that, but after that, this is what I have in the question stem. This is all I get from the analysis. Nothing gives me the exact value of AB or CD or the height. So of course the question stem alone cannot take me very far. Now using this, I'll see what else I can do in my question. But here is the thing. In this thing, what you want to find the area of the rectangle, you're not just leaving it at PS times SR. Why? Because the information that we have is about the trapezoid, the sides or the height or all of that, it should be related to the trapezoid. So if I just look carefully, then this PS is nothing but H plus 1 plus 1. So overall H plus 2. This is how I can rewrite my PS. So this way it gets connected with the trapezoid. Similarly, SR, I can write that as AB plus 1 on the right, 1 on the left, AB plus 2. So see how my entire area of the rectangle is now expressed in terms of something connected with the trapezoid about which I will have information. I do have it, but it's not very complete yet. So with this, let's all go to statement 1. The length of CD is 50% less than RS. So CD is 50% less than RS. We've just assumed RS to be S. So in that case, PQ is also S. 50% less than S means 0.5 S. So this is the length of CD. Now, I of course don't know anything about what this S is, so I can't exactly get the value of CD. Would you just give up at this stage only because you didn't get the height and you didn't get AB? No. Remember to use the question stem. What you get from the question stem is always there for you. So from the question stem, we had this statement. Now I'm going to put CD as 0.5 S. But even now, I have barely anything. I don't know AB, I don't know S, I don't know H. So since I don't know H, I can't get to H plus 2. Since I don't know AB, I can't get to AB plus 2. So there are too many unknowns here in just a single equation. So this is insufficient. So 3 people who marked option A thought this was sufficient, and 9 people who marked option D also thought this was sufficient. So 12 of you got this wrong in total. So tell me exactly what was the step where you faltered in the chat box, and also is only for the 12 people who got this wrong. Does the order of A, B, C, D matter? It will not matter. As long as you just remember that A and B have to be the one that are one and one away. So A and B have to be placed this way. Whether left is A, right is B, or right is A and left is B, that would not matter. Okay, so I got 100% votes from 10 of you, 10 of the 12 people. That's good enough. Let's now move on to see the second statement, statement 2. This is similar. This time you have AB is 20% less than RS. Yet again, if RS is S, AB is 0.8S. But this time the information is not as empty as you had in the previous one. Why? Because when you got CD as 0.5, you could not connect it with the rest of the S since you had no idea about this gap to the left of D or to the right of C. But this time you have a relationship. You know that AB plus 2 is equal to RS. We had used that in the first step. So if AB plus 2 is equal to RS, you can put AB as 0.8S and of course RS as S. When you solve this, you get the exact value of S. So see how this is one step ahead of what you had in the previous statement. Now since you have S as 10, you get the exact length of AB as 8. Yet again, remember what you were trying to find out. H plus 2 times AB plus 2. I did get AB plus 2 this time, but how are you going to get H? You cannot get H even when you use data from the question stem. Remember to use data from the question stem. A lot of people just forget that when a statement itself is analysis heavy. This one required quite a lot on its own. So there is a chance that you forget the question stem. Don't do that. So when you do that, you put AB as 8, but even now you don't know CD or H. It's two unknowns in just one equation. You cannot get it. And unless you get H, you will never be able to get H plus 2 here. So this statement is still sufficient. I'm sorry, insufficient. Nobody marked option B, so nobody thought this statement was alone sufficient. But again, this is for the people who marked D. The 9 people who marked D, you thought this was sufficient as well. So I hope you understood how this is also insufficient. Now comes the main part when you combine the two statements. Really, combination is very, very easy. If you came thus far, then combination is nothing. From the first statement, CD was 0.5s, and from the second one, you got the value of s as 10. So now you know the exact length of CD as well. This is 5. So if I show that here, look, this is 5, this is 8. Now use the question stem again. That is always there for you. Put in the values you know AB is 8, you know CD is 5. So the only unknown here is H. So the value of H is 6. That is the only thing you were missing when you did statement 2. So now that you know H as well, you can find the area that you wanted. So the correct answer is C. So the majority is correct, but with a very, very small margin, 37% for E and 38%. Tell me, where did you falter? Visualizing was tough. 1 inch away. This 1 inch away, 1 unit away, I prepared you for this through a question in the beginning, if you remember. Every question leads to these two in the end. went in a hurry to choose E. Think about it. You spent so much time on analyzing the statements individually, and then when it came to the final stage, you just rushed and marked it wrong. Think about all that effort you spent before it. 1 inch away, 1 inch away. This was tough. Got trapped in. I'm assuming we've labeled the trapezoid after reading the two statements. Yeah, the labeling will happen once you understand how it's all placed. Okay. What else? Tricks in language. Trick is in the language. Yeah, you have to read very carefully. Educated guess. Timing. Missed the area. Do we need to solve all the way till the end? No. Once you figure out that you will have everything, you should be good with it. Here we are discussing every single thing. Won't this take more than 2 minutes? Yeah, see how I explain every single bit of it, where we did everything till the end. You don't need to do that in a data sufficiency question. All right, so it's okay if you took long here, and also realize that when somebody explains something to you, it takes longer than it does for you to directly do it. Talking through every single step takes longer. Okay, so all of you now realize where you were confused in this one. This is the second hard question here that we did. Do not think about time yet if you're learning the concepts for the first time. That's something that will just mess up your preparation. Yes, it should not be very, very long that you take, but right now, don't try to confine yourself within 2 minutes. Because still, if you don't know the concept, then there's no way you can do it in time. Okay, now see, all of these questions that you saw today, my intent was to show you that you have to focus on learning. When you see something in one question, you have to use that on the next. Unless you focus on that and take things with you, it's not going to work. So all these questions that you're writing here in the chat box, explain things again. That would not be possible, I'm sorry. But any small questions that you want clarity on, you can write it in the Q&A box and Atreya will help you. Now, again, going on, we have this a success story. So she's somebody who was stuck at a Q42 and she was very scared of quant, struggled to solve questions, but then see how ultimately she ended up with a Q49. How? Because she used the new course, Quant 2.0 that we have, to build ability from the ground up. Her foundation was weak. Unless you have a strong foundation, there's no way that you're going to get till the very heights of the exam. 200% comfort with concepts. This is where that comes. The feedback that you get, the solutions that you get, that is what you have to internalize, understand where you were exactly faltering, and then fix that issue. Now, Mark got a Q49 on his first attempt. His background was not a math background at all. He was hovering around a Q41 in mock. So that's a 8 point jump. That's huge in the very first attempt. Yet again, feedback as you got today, he used that seriously, focused on his foundations, and had his personalized study plan that he diligently followed. Another one is this. You got a 750 in 75 days. That's very inspiring, isn't it? He was weak in geometry. Geometry, the topic that you did today. Yet again, the feedback based on diagnostic quizzes is what helped him. He focused on application thoroughly. These are some testimonials about how people really loved the program and learned a lot from this. Tell me how you all liked this session today in the chat box. Tell me what was the main thing you learned? How was your overall experience? That'll keep us motivated for more and more sessions. As I conclude, remember you need to have 200% clarity in these concepts. There should be absolutely no confusion there. Triangle and circle questions are more difficult. That's not true. We saw so many people struggle here. But yes, again, everybody might have some difficult topics. Enlightening. Can we have a session regarding triangles and circles? Well, I will note that. I'll let my team know this is something we want. It built confidence and great, insightful session. Loved the session. Key takeaways to be clear with the concepts. Thank you for liking it. Wonderful. Learn that geometry is not tough if we learn properly. That's beautiful. That's the best thing you could have said. Even coordinate geometry. Yes, that's an important topic. Came to know your strengths and weaknesses. Good. That's step one of improving. Unless you know where you're struggling, how will you improve? Got to see GMAT questions in practice. Yes. You should have some dedicated sessions on tough questions. Well, usually the way we design these sessions is to go from easy to slow so that everybody can feel and get that level of confidence. But again, I'll note down what you wanted here. Just hard questions. I'll let our team know and we'll deliberate on that. All of you make sure you follow this step by step approach that you learned today. Actively read your questions. There were so many of you who said, "Oh, I didn't read it properly. Oh, I missed this word or that word." Don't do that. Trust the test maker. You're not going to be asked something that you just don't know. You will know everything. And trust yourself. Be confident. Okay, I have studied this. I can do this. You will absolutely be able to do this. Here are your next steps. Review all quadrilateral concepts in your free trial. Remember the videos I talked to you about in the very beginning? These are the ones. Review them. Solve questions in the process files, learning activities. So as you do a question, you will see the detailed solution for that, just how you saw it today. This is the extra practice that you will get, and you will feel way, way more confident after that. Also solve geometry questions that you will have in Scholaranium. So just head to the e-GMAT portal, sign in if you haven't ever done, sign up for a free trial, and you will see the magic happen. Thank you for joining us today. I'll see you again next week in another